Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Speak, the podcast for teens. I'm your host, Emily Miller, Teen Intuitive. All right, so we are going to continue with our bodywork series, and this is the series where I explain how our bodies work to communicate to us about what higher self and source need us to know, to see what and how we are thinking, feeling, and believing about ourselves that is out of alignment with the way that they intend for us to feel about ourselves, and help us, how our body's always helping us. Remember, our body loves us so much. It is not our enemy. It is here to help us. So anytime that we are having anything within our body that doesn't feel good, it's a direct communication to us from source and higher self to let us know we're out of alignment, that we think, feel, and believe a way about ourselves that is just not true. So they're like, hey, I'm going to give you this body sign that you cannot ignore, so that you will have to, in some way, shape, or form, adjust the way that you are being towards yourself. So this week, we are going to focus on all things in the female reproductive system. So even if you're not a woman, you're not a girl, it is still highly beneficial to listen to this episode, because it will give you a lot of insight into how women operate and how we function, and will help you one day in the future, if not help you now, have more empathy and sympathy and understanding for how the women in your life have different systems than how you have as a male. So keep listening. It will be beneficial, I promise. So the first thing that I really want to talk about is that as I was a teacher, I taught child development, or when I was a teacher, I taught child development. And as part of the curriculum, at the very beginning of the year, mind you, I had to teach a very small section on sex ed. So I had my classroom full of students, and my first year of teaching child development, first year teaching high school, because I had taught middle school before then, I had to open up the year with sex ed. Imagine how awkward that was. So the thing that really amazed me the most about this little lesson that I would have with my students was how little everybody knew about their own bodies. My classroom usually was a bunch of girls. Like, typically it was, 95% girls in my class, and there would be a few boys in there, but I always taught classrooms that were majority female. And they had no idea about their cycles. They had no idea about even the parts that were inside their own body, that they had ovaries and fallopian tubes and uteruses, and even how to pronounce the word vaginal. Like, that was a part of our lesson that we had every single year. And it never changed. Year after year after year, it was exactly the same. Nobody really, truly, unless, I would say 5% of my students really knew already coming into class, like, how their bodies worked. And it wasn't the first time that they'd heard this information too. Like, kind of think about, if you can remember back to like 5th grade. It's usually like 5th or 6th grade is the first time they do this in schools. And you have to get split up in between the two classrooms. There'll be a classroom of boys and a classroom of girls, and they would, usher you all in, and, okay, class, we're going to have a really special day today where we learn about the reproductive systems for males and females. And they would show you this video, and then they would give you like little sticky notes a lot of the times, and you'd have to like write down your question if you had a question about whatever happened in the video. And the video would tell you, girls have vaginas and boys have penises, and whenever they get together, they make a baby. And you're like, okay, like, sitting in there in such an awkward time in life anyway, and then watching this super cringe like video about the reproductive system, and then like secretly having to write little notes and hope the teacher doesn't recognize your handwriting or accidentally say this came from so and so like out in front of the class. So that can kind of be like a traumatic situation all in its own if you think about it. But anyway, coming back to the class, is that whenever I was teaching, it was such an eye-opening experience for me to see like how many people don't understand how their own bodies work and how they're supposed to work. And so I found it to be like, after my first year of, kind of breaking the ice of having to do sex ed to high school kids to teach them about their bodies, it was like it was such an empowering time for them, I feel like, because they really got to understand like how their bodies worked. Some people would think like, oh, that you could get pregnant any day of the year. There was a few times I had to correct people because they thought that when they got pregnant, that the babies were just growing in the stomach. And I was like, no, we are females. We have uteruses, and the babies will implant into uterine wall, and that's how they grow, and that's where the placenta comes from, and the umbilical cord, and we have all these different things that are going on when you're pregnant. And they were just like, what? So it was always really like a funny time whenever I had to educate them on all of these things, because they had that class in 5th grade, but it was such like an awkward time that none of that stuff sinks in. None of it stays in. And unless you have like parents that really talk to you about that stuff and educate you on it, it's just not something that's taught fully and completely. And it should be one of the things that's taught fully and completely, because like we live every single day in our bodies. Our bodies are so important. And the fact that if you're a woman and you can create life and grow it in there, but like have no idea how that even happens, is wild. So anyway, I think it's super important to really like educate yourself, and this won't be a podcast on that, but about like, what is my body made up of? What are the different parts? What do all of these different parts do? What are they meant to do? And then also learning about your cycle. That is so, so important, because so many people experience physical symptoms that can be like super debilitating. They can knock you out for days whenever you experience a cycle that is abnormal, that is giving you symptoms that you don't have to experience. So I'll just say, some of the different symptoms that people have. And first I want to let you know kind of what our bodies should be experiencing during our cycles. So women have about a 28-day cycle. We have a month-long situation where our body is going through massive changes to prepare itself to be able to house and grow a baby. That's what our bodies are physically made to do. In our 28-day cycle, we have these different phases throughout our cycle, and we're meant to feel different ways throughout the cycle. It's kind of like a wave that we ride, but it's not an uncontrollable wave. It's a wave that we can predict and then understand what should be coming next within this cycle. So like men, they have a 24-hour cycle. Their hormonal cycle goes every single day, and they're on a go, go, go situation. They're hunters, they're gatherers by DNA. That's how their bodies function. And ours have different waves that they follow, a cycle that it follows every single 28 days. And it doesn't have to be erratic. It doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be something that you dread. If your body if you were in, perfect alignment, and you were feeling really, really good in the ways that I will explain in a minute about yourself, your body wouldn't have to communicate to you through your menstrual cycle, through your, PMS situations, through the symptoms that you experience before, during, or after your period. You don't have to have all of that stuff if you know what it's communicating to you, so that you can get back into alignment, so you can shift out of the belief that you are feeling. So a cycle, whenever you are balanced, whenever you are in alignment, should feel easy. There's going to be times like, right after your period, you are in your ovulation phase, and during that phase of your cycle is a time where your energy is going to be a lot higher. You are going to feel very outgoing. You're going to want to be around people. You're going to want to get things done. You're even like the makeup of your body, like the way that your pheromones, they change. They become more attractive to men, because you are in that time, whenever you're about to ovulate, are looking like in your body's system. It's like, okay, I need to go out and I need to find a man to get me a baby. We don't want that every single time, but that is kind of like, not kind of, it is what your body is doing during that ovulation phase. It's like, okay, let's go. And so then what happens is after that, you're like, okay, I did all this work. I was out there, I put myself out there, and now I'm kind of ready to like turn inward a little bit. I want to relax. I want to, maybe instead of the hustle doing phase, maybe I want to be in the planning phase. And here's whenever I want to kind of relax and settle into myself instead of being out and about all the time. And then, right before your period, you kind of get into like a few days before, you're getting more hungry, because your body's about to do some serious work to, flush out your system with the period, so that it can make a brand new space every single 28 days for a baby to grow in, like a fresh, brand new space. So while you're in that time when your body's getting ready to go into having the period, like the premenstrual part, like PMS, you hear that, that's your premenstrual syndromes. So it's normal to want to eat more, to probably want to eat more carbs. You might crave more sugar or more like salty, like chips and stuff like that. That's like super normal, because your body's kind of wanting to store up some energy to get ready to do all that work that it has to do to have a period. So you've got these like cycles and these phases where things happen. Then when you're on your period is a time where you really kind of actually do want to turn inward and reflect. It's a time of release. And during that time, you're not only physically releasing from, everything that happens during your period, you're having that physical, but also it's going to be an emotional release, to be able to release some of the things that have been going on during your month-long situation, any emotions that aren't serving you. So what happens, that's a really great communication that is actually so perfect whenever you think about it, is your PMS symptoms. So whatever they are, whatever you feel right before your period, if you get like really, really grumpy and like you just feel like you want to bite people's heads off, whatever, that used to be me. I knew when my period was coming, because I would get so short-tempered, and I would just be like, get away from me. But it doesn't have to be that way. But that's like one of my symptoms that was like really big, that I would have every single time. And what that is indicating to you is that during this month of your cycle, this month, because it changes, I'm sure you guys realize, like right before every period, you don't always have the exact same symptoms. But that is a big one to communicate to you that you have been like holding on to a lot of irritation throughout this cycle, that you haven't let it go, you haven't released it, and it's just a build up to irritation, and then finally you get to that PMS phase and it's like, and you just want to like attack everybody. So that's what happens with that one. A lot of times people will get really sore boobs, or they will get really big and deep back pains. People can get severe headaches. So there's all of these things, and each one of them is a communication. Headaches usually mean that you have been like beating yourself up with your thoughts. You haven't been having good thoughts about yourself. Back pain is you feeling like you aren't capable to do the things that you're meant to do in this lifetime. And so if you're having like a sore boobs, feeling like you aren't able to give all of the things that you know that you're able to give, there's things kind of like repressing you and holding you down and keeping you from being able to give everything that you want to give to people. So each of these symptoms carry a different explanation as to why you are having them and the way that you are being towards yourself. And it usually, like I said, it will change from month to month or cycle to cycle. And it's showing you, okay, well, this month you have been feeling really irritated. This month you have been beating yourself up. And then that gives you the time during your period whenever you can kind of turn inward and have a time of reflection. And you know, like whenever you have like especially the first like 2 days of your period, you're like, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to see anybody. I just want to lay here and eat some chocolate. And that's okay. Another symptom that you can have during your actual period, well, there's a lot of them, but just off the top of my head, I'm going to think of a few. So let's see. The first one, is having really bad cramps. Whenever I was a teacher, I would have so many girls, because I didn't realize this was such, that people had the pains so bad that it would take them out of school. Like they would have such bad period cramps that they couldn't show up. It would make them throw up, some of them. They would vomit. They would have severe headaches. They would be sensitive to light. They literally couldn't come to school because they were on their periods. And I was like, and I knew this was something that I needed to talk to you guys about, because I'm like, that's not something you have to experience. That is something that is way too intense. I'm like, why do they have to feel this way? Why do they have to experience this? Like, that shouldn't be. And it shouldn't. Like, you shouldn't have to feel that way. You shouldn't have to dread every single cycle that you're going to have these periods that are going to literally, like, physically make you ill so that you cannot function on a daily basis, like to just even go to school or work or wherever it is you need to go. So I was like, we have got to figure that one out. So those symptoms, again, are going to tell a different story about how you're feeling about yourself. And then on top of that, the severity of the symptoms are also going to tell the story of how you've been being towards yourself. So if you have these periods where you can't move for 2 days or even a day or whatever it is, it's telling you that you are out of alignment. Your body's like, girly, we gotta fix this. What is going on? And it causes you to like stop. It's sort of like the flu situation that we talked about, I think that was last week, where it's like you're being too hard on yourself. You are putting too much pressure on yourself. You are not being nice to you. Like there's just like a plethora of things that it could be in regards to what your cycle is telling you. But like also, if you have, we were going to talk about this, some of the symptoms for the actual period and how that can communicate what's happening. So if you have a super heavy period, like it lasts for days and it's just the heavy flow, and it's like something that you're worried about the entire time, and you're always having to go to the bathroom and check and all this stuff, that's not something that you have to experience. That because that doesn't feel good. So remember, if something is feeling like it's limiting you, if it's feeling like it is too heavy, like literally too heavy, like too heavy of a period, and it's putting like too much pressure on you, then also cramps, putting too much pressure on you, then know that it's not something that you have to have. So the heavy flow, and then we'll come back to knowing that it's not something that you have to have. The heavy flow happens whenever you feel like you're giving too much of yourself. You are giving away like too much, so much so that it is like taking away your life force. Like it's just draining you, and you're just feeling exhausted from having to give. And then like if you're having super heavy cramps during your period, like I remember girls, they would come with like heating pads that they would carry around with them, or wear those like heating pad patches on their lower stomachs because they were in so much pain. And then on top of that, like having to just take Midols and Advils and Motrins and Tylenols and all that stuff, which is not good for your body. We don't have to take that stuff. Your period should feel like a mild discomfort. Like on a pain scale of 1 to 10, it should feel like a 2. Like you should just kind of go, oh yeah, oh my gosh, I'm about to start my period. And whenever you're having it, oh, I forgot I was even on my period, because it shouldn't be so painful that you can't function and live your daily life. Like it should not be that bad. So if you're having these like hard, serious cramps, knowing that you are putting a lot of pressure on yourself to accomplish things and feeling like you aren't able to do it, that will be like some serious cramps that you're having. And it's just not something that you have to experience. So it's really good that our bodies tell us these things, and we are really, really lucky to be women. Like we are really not lucky, but we're fortunate that we have these systems in place that are here, like so perfectly designed for us to tell us, okay, you had this symptom this week and you're feeling this way. Okay, well, if I'm feeling this way this week and I'm having this really bad experience every single time I have my period, then that must be higher self telling me, Emily, you're completely out of alignment and we need to fix this beating up of yourself, putting too much pressure on yourself, whatever the things are. Even like if your cycles are like super short, that might not be a good thing either. Like if you're worried because you aren't having a full period, that also has a thing, like a communication to you telling you that there is something out of alignment. So if your periods are really long or they're non-existent, what if you miss your period but you aren't pregnant? That's also a communication to you. So any symptom, no matter what, within your cycle, within your process of your period, it is going to give you a communication to let you know that something is out of balance, something is out of alignment. And so it's really cool to have that intuition to be able to like hone it in and really see, okay, you're being this way about yourself, and it's telling me in this area of life I am, being really hard on myself about my social life or with my family, or I'm putting too much pressure on myself to make money. Whatever the things are, like we can figure out exactly where the symptoms are stemming from and what area of life, and then get a really cool solution to put into play to get that belief out, to wash it away. Because that is what your period ultimately is for you to do in that cycle. Aside from getting your body like physically ready to have a baby, the other thing it does is like it washes out that emotional system that you've been holding on to for that entire cycle. So it's like it's just a really great time to cleanse the not only the body but like the spirit, the emotional stuff that's going on within you. So just know that it's not something that you have to live with. We have been told, by commercials and things you might see on Instagram or TikToks about how our bodies like, oh, it's my period and I'm gonna have to suffer, but you don't. Like, Midol shouldn't even have to be a thing. Like, you shouldn't have to take that, because if you're able to like catch the symptom, catch the thing that is making you feel bad and flip it, then you don't need to have to take medicine to mask it. Because remember, whenever we take any sort of pills, it's not solving the problem. It's just putting a little band-aid over a gushing wound. So it's not going to give you a solution. It's going to temporarily mask those symptoms, and then they're just going to pop right back up because we haven't taken care of the root of the system. So you got to think about that. And then the last thing I'll leave you on, which is pretty cool too to think about, because whenever we did the face thing, I was like, okay, preventing wrinkles for whenever you guys get older. This is something really cool too, is that our bodies are never meant to actually go into menopause, to go into a time where all of your reproductive system just shuts down. We're not meant to be like that. Just like we're not meant to age and get old, we're not meant to go into a phase where our body just stops working in the way that Source intended for it to function. That's a sign of aging, and it's a sign of stress, and it's a sign of these beliefs being put on us that are not true. So that's something that is completely made up to bring women down, to make us feel like we aren't useful anymore. It's a programming to say, hey, once you get to this age, you aren't useful anymore. We're done with you. Y'all go, rot away in a closet somewhere and let your ovaries shrivel up. But that's also not true. That doesn't have to happen. So you guys learning the things that you're learning now, it's really amazing to see, like, okay, I don't have to go into menopause. I don't have to have hot flashes. I don't have to, be a crazy, grumpy, whatever they try to tell you menopause ends up to be. It's just not true. So take that also and see that as a really amazing thing, that you knowing this stuff now and how your body works and how it's intended to function, know that you can live a really long, healthy life where you get to not only feel good, but you also get to look good. You don't have to do all of the old aging stuff that they program into us through everything, movies, social media, commercials. It's so bad in commercials. You turn on the TV and here's your anti-menopause medications, and you have to take these hormones, and you have to take this, and you have to do this. Well, because you're aging, and here's your anti-aging this and anti-aging that. It's just not a thing. So carry that good knowledge with you that you don't have to get old and shrivel up and become unuseful anymore. That's just something society is trying to program into you to make you feel like you can't do all the things that you want to do. Like, just remember that. And this week, let's see, think about your symptoms. What is going on during your cycle? How are you feeling? What sort of things do you feel like your body is communicating to you? Have you been being hard on yourself? Are you putting too much pressure on yourself? Are you not being nice to yourself? What are some of the things that you could kind of see, okay, well, because I'm experiencing this, I must be doing this to myself. And know that there is a way to relieve the symptoms and actually like cure them and be done with them. You don't have to have painful, long or short or missing or whatever kind of periods. There's a way to get it to where you can come into alignment with how you are meant to be and have like ease every single month. It is possible. So know that. Think about what your symptoms might be communicating to you this cycle, and have a gorgeous, gorgeous week.